Hello, and welcome back to Mr. Anderson Plays Jake Hunter, Detective Story, Memories of the Past. Now, there is something I forgot to mention last time, as you might be seeing on the screen in front of you. Two games released on the Nintendo DS, called Jake Hunter, Detective Chronicles on the left, and Memories of the Past, which we are playing on the right. Now, I had bought Detective Chronicles. It was one of the first Jake Hunter games I've ever played, and I really enjoyed it. It had 3 stories on it. It had Crash and Burn, The Petty Murder of the Fragile Heart, and one other one. I forget the name of it. However, that's not really the point. The point is, if you bought Jake Hunter Detective Chronicles, and then you're like, oh look, Jake Hunter Detective Story, Memories of the Past, and you're really excited to play it, you would realize that Detective Jake Hunter and Memories of the Past have 3 of the same stories that Detective Chronicles has, the first 3. So you'd be like, ah, darn, I bought pretty much the same game. While this Memories of the Past does have 3 additional stories and Jake Hunter Unleashed, it kind of sucks because they were only really released a year apart, one in 2008 and the other in 2009. So while I'm happy that they at least put 3 more games on there, plus the Jake Hunter Unleashed, it feels kind of like a ripoff because, I mean, you pretty much bought the same stories twice. Worth it though, especially if you want the other 3 Jake Hunter stories. Anywho, on with the show. Let's load this bad boy up. I just remember playing it, I'm like, this all seems very familiar. Yes. Last time, we were thinking on all the leads that we had from the previous day of the body found in the park at 7 a.m., Mary Taylor, who was most likely a bar hostess. And that there was some transients at the park that for some reason don't want to talk about anything. And we actually are trying to track down her place of work as well. At least Xinksly is. And we had just gotten a call from on Mary Taylor's phone, and it was just a text message saying, help. Everything fit more or less. Didn't have a lot of facts, but the ones I did were starting to come together. It was looking like I'd be paying a second visit to the park. Figured it couldn't hurt to stop by Mary's apartment either. I needed to know what was going on with those bums and why Mary didn't have a business card. Just as I was about to put out my cigarette and take a drink of the coffee Yulia was handing me. Yes, the call. A sharp noise shattered the afternoon tranquility of my office like a bullet into a pane of glass. It took me a few seconds to realize that it was coming from my pocket, from the cell phone Sam had taken off of Mary's body. A call for a dead woman. I couldn't get the phone out of my pocket fast enough. This call could be the break I needed. But it was only a text message. Though how many text messages ring like a phone call? Usually it's just like a little alert and then it's over. So it's weird. And the phone showed only its address for the sender. No more. My cigarette had gone out, but I kept the cold butt clamped in my teeth as I scrolled down to the message. Like the best messages, it was succinct. Now, if anyone remembers the pain in the ass it was to actually text on a flip phone, because you pretty much had to just use the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and basically keep repeatedly pressing them until you got to the letter that you wanted. So sometimes you'd have to press each button 3 times. So help would have taken forever to type out on a flip phone. To be continued. Oh yeah, we've already seen that. Now, I've also noticed that Jake Hunter could be like a relative of Guile from Street Fighter. I mean, their hair's the same, they got that same facial structure. I wonder if that's what Japan thinks of a badass. A girl named Mary Taylor was murdered in Hospicio Park. Just as the day was drawing to a close, the dead girl's phone rang with an urgent message. Just a single word. Help. I'd been staring at it for hours, but I still couldn't puzzle out what it meant. Sam had been able to determine that it had been sent over the internet, not from another phone. But the cops couldn't trace the sender. Shane said that this case wouldn't be a walk in the park. I was beginning to think he'd been right. Except for when we do take walks in the park. Good morning, sir. Morning. How's the investigation going, sir? Could be going better, babe. I'm sorry to hear that. So what are your plans for today, sir? Anything exciting? I figured I'd swing by the park again and then see what I can find at Mary's old apartment. I see. So you should have this whole thing wrapped up in a couple of hours, right? Is the Pope Catholic? Of course I will. Good thing I don't change by the hour. Charge by the hour. Blah. Alright, so I guess we should move on. Let's swing by the park, see if the bums have anything to say to us today. Alright, babe, I'm off. Hold down the fort for me. I think of nothing else, sir. I strode out of the office door, my hand already digging into my pocket for the pack of cigs in there somewhere. As I held my lighter behind a cupped hand, a breeze brushed by my face, making the flame flutter. It ruffled my hair gently, like a father's hand, and pulled the smoke of my cigarette away from my face and off down the busy street. Maybe it was just fresh air, or maybe it was just finally getting a smoke without Yulia giving me the evil eye. But I was starting to feel a little better about the case. I think they were trying to say that earlier when Julie was looking out the window, she might have been a smoker at one point too. But in 1987, a vast majority of people were smokers. Just as my cigarette burned its last, my feet stopped in front of the entrance to Hospicio Central Park. I was pretty sure the bums I'd met the day before knew something, but they were giving me the runaround. I needed to get them to spill it, one way or another. Let's go to the crime scene. I trudged off down the path, digging out a cigarette. The wind rustled softly through the leaves over my head and tossed the smoke from my cig around my face. For a moment I felt like I was miles away from Hospicio, from this case. Nothing around me but leaves and trees and leaves and forest. That rhymed. I was so lost in myself that I almost walked right past the crime scene. By the time I realized where I was, my cigarette was almost gone. So it took about 6 minutes. 8 minutes, maybe. Depends on how quick of a smoker he is. He looks like he might be one of those thoughtful ones. I arrived at the scene of the murder. Over the years, a sort of mini Hooverville had grown up in the park. Most people have steered clear of it, and the cops seem to have given up on trying to evict its ragamuffin tenements. Halted around a particularly dilapidated cardboard shack, I spotted the fellows I'd spoken with the day before. I couldn't help but feel I wasn't going to have much more luck this time. Well, the other guy's not around, so... Stevenson? He was the one that was really playing hardball with me. I don't know anything about the murder. Please, leave me alone. Please. Well, that was a bust. This was just Ducky. I knew they'd seen something, but it looked like I wasn't going to hear a word about it. Detective. Huh? I need to play my cards right. Aldenberg was the chink in their armor, but if I blew it... I pulled out a cigarette. Mr. Aldenberg, I'm not here to razz you. I'm no copper. I know you're no snitch, and you don't want to be. My girl's dead, and it sounds like, to me, you know something about that. You level with me, and I'll see you kept out of it. Not asking much, just a couple words will do. Hey kid, you understand, don't you? Oh, you dick. He's a cop block. Screw off. Talk to him again. Screw off. Man, they're all shutting their trappers. Hey, the food's here. Hey kid, you coming? Following Stevenson lead, Taggart and Aldenberg took off toward the north end of the park. As I followed them, I noticed other bums emerging from their shacks and boxes, moving in the same direction. They're like... zombies. Aside from the whisper of the wind and the distant buzz of the city, this part of the park was almost silent. Mary's body might have left, but something of its presence remained. There was nothing on the ground, but in my mind, Mary's body lay there, plain as day. Every time I visited the crime scene, the world got a little colder. Anything else around here? No. Okay, looks like there's nothing else I can do here. Let's follow the bums. I took off across the park, after the three men. I'd never seen anything like this before. When I finally caught up, most of the mini Hooverville's residents had arranged themselves in a line. There were around 10 men and women at the head of the line, handing something out to the homeless people. Around. I was on the north end of the park. The ground had been packed hard by the thousands of feet, but trees rose up on either side of me, like a forest clearing. Other people passing through the park looked at the lines of homeless with disgust, pulling their children close as they quickened their pace. It wasn't an uncommon sight in Hospicio, but it always made me feel like a bit of a pill. What? Maybe they just gotten used to the looks, but none of the bums seemed to notice the glares and sniffs of the other park patrons. Well, if people want to go around sniffing people's bums, then that's up to them. They'd queued right up to take whatever it was that was going to be handed out. The whole line was nothing but smiling faces. As I got close, I could see that they were handing out food and clothes to the bums. I figured it had to be some sort of volunteer group. They looked to be students, and one or two were choice pieces of calico? What? I knew they were undoubtedly on better terms with the bums than I was at the moment, but they seemed too busy to talk. I spotted Taggart and Aldenburn in the line. I hope maybe the atmosphere would make them a little bit more responsive. They're a charity group. Some kind of outreach program for Eternus University. Sounds like a cult university or something you find in like an H.P. Lovecraft universe. Let me take a sip of my OJ. I couldn't care less about where it comes from, just as long as I get some food. See, I prefer my drinks murderous. Not black, but orange. But named like a murderous black man. O.J. Simpson. Excuse me, Mr. Taggart. Please don't. I don't know anything. I watched Taggart run off, wondering what could have scared him off so much that he'd run away from food. Man, Aldenburg's really got these guys, Stevenson's really got these guys scared. They give us food and stuff. They're very nice people. Excuse me, Mr. Aldenburg. Wait a minute. Hey, what the hell are you doing here? Are you coming or not? Aldenburg disappeared into the crowd of homeless people. Man, let's talk to the volunteers. I'm a sharp-dressed homeless man. They had their hands full with the line of bums. They weren't going to talk to me anytime soon. Let's see if I'm missing anything. The volunteers seemed caught up in their work. Can't say I was very surprised. Doesn't look like I was going to be able to talk to them at all. They'd queued right up to take whatever it was that was going to be handed out. The whole line was nothing but smiling faces. Other people passing through the park looked at the line of homeless people. Yep. We already seen this one. Make sure we're not seeing anything. I was on the north end of the park. Yeah. Doesn't look like I'm going to get anything from here. So, I guess I might as well just move on to Mary's apartment. Didn't look like I was going to have much luck at the park, so I pointed myself towards Mary's apartment. I had a hunch I'd find something there. I found Mary Taylor's apartment nestled quietly between a number of equally nondescript buildings. This was the first chance I had to find out something about the girl. About what the girl had been like before she died. Before I went inside, there was something I needed to do. Mary's apartment stood before me. Let's give Sam a call. Use Vera? Yes. We're going to call Sam. Samantha Martin, the funny dame from the crime lab. Right. She told me to give her a ring before I gave the apartment a once-over. I hope it hadn't just been an excuse to get me to call. That girl needed to get out more. What is his wallpaper? Hi, this is Samantha. Hi, Sam, it's Jake. Oh, hello, Jake. How's the investigation going? Swimmingly, I trust? Yeah, about that. Can I get permission to investigate Mary Taylor's apartment? There's a cop here, and he doesn't seem too friendly. Oh, of course. I'll make sure the officer at the apartment is appraised of the situation. So, try going back a little later, okay? You're a peach, Sam. You can count on me. Great. I'd be able to get into Mary's apartment. Around. A pair of women who looked like suburban mothers were chatting it up in front of the apartment. Hello, baby. They looked like a pair of homebodies. Chances were they lived in the area. The fat one was holding a shopping basket, of course, to fill her face with food, the little fatty. And the skinny one was holding a broom. I couldn't pick up their words, but their faces were serious, and every so often they would glance toward Mary's apartment. Mary's apartment. I wonder if it's next to Joe's garage. The apartment building was plain, but clean, a subtle kind of expensive. They were nice digs, but they didn't jive with the person I'd started to see Mary as. There was a single cop guarding the door to the girl's room. A quiet snore drifted out from under the cap, covering his eyes. I'd figure I'd just go ahead and let myself in. I had that itch in the back of my mind that usually meant I was missing something. Or that I needed to smoke. Okay. I should try interviewing them first. Oh. See, that's what the lighter icon does. It gives you hints. Fat lady. Mary Taylor. Oh my.
You mean the poor girl who was murdered? Such a terrible shame. She was so young. I live in the apartment down the street. I've never actually talked to her. Wait, who are you?
Sorry.
What, a detective?
Oh my goodness, I've never seen a real detective before. How exciting. Alright, don't get all wet on me, girl. Oh my. Mr. Detective, I'm not a suspect, am I? No, you're not. I don't think you could move that fast. I never talked to her. How could I possibly be connected to this? You can't really think I'm a suspect. You're unbelievable. Chill out. Chill. Oh my goodness. That is inappropriate, sir. You should know that I am a married woman. Well, I never. Oh, I'm sorry. If your husband has sex with you, is that considered animal abuse? Ooh. Anything unusual? Let me see. My neighbor Shelley lost a lot of weight last month. I don't know how she did it. Maybe it was that orange juice diet. Oh wow, I'm drinking orange juice. It didn't sound like she was going to be able to tell me anything about Mary. I watched the minutes tick by on my watch as the woman prattled on. It was almost hypnotic. Christian Bale, when he did the movie Machinist, he had to lose a lot of weight. And in order to do that, he actually did nothing but smoke and eat oranges. He lost tons of weight. If you've never seen the movie Machinist, it's an okay movie, but definitely check it out. He's really skinny in it. Skinny lady. Mary Taylor.
Oh, that's right. You want to know about Mary. She used to live next door. She was such a nice girl. I don't know who did this to her, but it's so horrible. She was always working so hard, despite her condition.
Condition?
I'm afraid I don't know much about it. Like I said, I didn't know her that well, but I heard she had some kind of heart condition. She did tell me once that sometimes when it was bad, she couldn't move at all.
Maybe that's why there was no fighting back. Anything else? Let me think.
Well, there's a strange man that came by her apartment a few times last month.
The man.
Oh, he didn't look like a criminal or anything. It couldn't have been him. Actually, he looked like the exact opposite of a criminal. How should I put this? He looked very professional.
It looked like that was about all the useful information I was going to get out of them. But if I didn't scram right quick, I was going to get roped into listening to another story about her kids. Well then, I figured it was about time I had a look at Mary's room. Alright, let's go. There's a single cop guarding the entrance to Mary's room. Oh, Mr. Hunter. I was briefed on the situation. Please go right ahead. It looked like Sam had told the cop about me. He gave me a quick salute and then shuffled back to his post. A salute from the cop wasn't something I saw every day. Guess I was finally moving up in the world. I was standing in Mary Taylor's apartment. I needed a break. I hoped I would find it here. Alright, let's look around. Let's toss this room. First, the panty drawer. The room was about 45 square foot. With a dining room and a kitchen, it looked like Mary had been a pretty clean person. A lot of the bar hostesses I've known were pretty messy, but it looked like Mary had been borderline OCD. The closet was full of clothes, all neatly hung or folded. About half of them were pretty doggy, the kind thing you wouldn't see outside of a downtown gin mill. The other half, well, they wouldn't have looked out of place on Yulia. I didn't think someone's taste could vary so much. Well, I guess one's for her, thought moments, and other were for her more refined moments. It was an impressive vanity, complete with a 3-sided mirror. The drawers are full of jewelry and cosmetics, arranged in neat rows and columns. I've never been good with lady products, and it dawned on me that I didn't have the first idea of what I was looking for. Most of the shelf space was taken up by fashion magazines and celebrity rags, but I noticed a few medical books. Sitting next to the bookshelf, found a stack of business cards. Oh. Can I get the business cards? Let's look at the medical books real quick. I only had to glance at the titles to get to know that they were way over my head. There are a few dog-eared pages that seemed to be on the heart conditions, but I couldn't be sure. Mary's business cards had East Bar and Tripudio District written on them. East Bar must have been where she worked. It would fit. People were bound to know her at the bar. It might give me the break I was looking for. My thing is, why hadn't Xinksly gone into the apartment yet? If he did, he would have found the business cards with the business on it. So why would he be interviewing to find where she worked? There were more than 10 pairs of high-heeled shoes neatly stacked. Now, I always thought this was a myth. However, I've lived with 2 women for more than 11, 12 years. But of course, each separately. I'm not that big of a player, and all of them owned way too many shoes. I don't know why they owned so many, but they did. One was a hoarder though, so she owned like every shoe from when she was like 2 years old. So there were more than 10 pairs of high-heeled shoes neatly stacked. They were about as diverse as her clothes, although the nice ones looked like they'd been collecting dust for a while. A rack. I found an accessory box on a shelf above the A rack. Accessory box? It looked like Mary emptied her purse into that box. I found some coins, pocket tissues, and her patient registration card. The patient registration card was on top of the other stuff. Had she been using it a lot lately? It was a patient registration card for the Eternus University Hospital. Where have we heard that from before? The bums? No, they were feeding the bums. According to the issue date on the card, it was over 10 years old. If she'd be going to the hospital a lot, someone there was bound to be able to tell me about her. I don't know. I mean, the patient confidentiality is pretty steep. I'd gone over her apartment with a fine-tooth comb. I didn't think I was going to find anything else. It hadn't been a bust, though. I had 2 places I knew Mary had frequented before her death. Alright, well. What's this one? The EU Hospital. East Bar. Let's go to the bar first. I wonder if it's open. I'd arrived at the bar where Mary had worked before she bought the farm. I hoped her coworkers might be able to give me something to go on. If the bar didn't pan out, I was going to be in trouble. I stepped off of the crowded streets of downtown Hospicio and entered the East Bar. Only a few days earlier, it would have been Mary Taylor walking in through that door instead of me. It was a classy joint, but I couldn't spot a single customer. Probably a little early. Perfect. I ambled up to the bar and pulled out a cigarette. The bartender gave me a half-hearted nod. Let's look at the environment, the bar. It was a real classy joint. Nothing flashy, just lots of velvet and rich mahogany. It was a pretty closey place to boot. Even if it had been full, I didn't think there would have been more than 10 people or so. The booze. The shelves behind the bar were packed with liquor. Almost all of it the good stuff. No bathtub hoochie there, except for the women, if you know what I mean. The kind of place is pretty rare nowadays. Makes me look a little sad. It'd been a long time since I'd seen a counter like that. Rich dark wood polished to look like glass. In fact, when I play a bartender in most D&D games, I usually have to rub the table a lot. The bartender. The man was cleaning a glass, doing his level best to look aloof and refined. He was making an effort to ignore me, but every so often I would catch him glancing clandestinely in my direction. I figured he was playing the proper bartender, waiting for me to make the first move. Let's talk to the bartender. What did I want to talk about? Let's talk about other things first. You're going to make me say it, aren't you? Sigh. Business is poor. Are you happy now? Easy there, friend. I could get used to a joint like this. Then you are one of a shockingly small number of individuals who still possess a modicum of taste. Glenmorangie, sir? On the rocks, I assume? What? The fuck? What's a Glenmorangie? Miss Taylor? Yeah, she was previously under my employ as a hostess. Nice, polite girl. She came from a respectable family. Prior to her tenure at this establishment, she was employed at a Fortune 500 company. Why she quit? I must confess that I do not know why Miss Taylor chose to leave her previous employer. Perhaps because I have that rare quality of common decency, and as such, mind my own business. It was her heart. Hello, baby. I believe you are paid to be a hostess, not to gossip. I'm sure you've noticed he's the only customer right now. Who else exactly am I supposed to host? Damn. Kim, huh? Let's take a look at Kim. Yes. It turned out that she knew Mary quite well. She was the first person who'd been able to tell me anything of the story of Mary Taylor. I wasn't about to let her go until I was sure I wrung every last detail out of her. Alright, let's give it to Kim a talk. Mary Taylor, I'd only just heard the news. I still can't believe she was killed. She was too nice a girl to get stuck in a place like this, you know. Looks like Mary's death had hit her pretty hard. These two must have been tight. What are you talking about there? She told me that once that she'd some kind of serious heart condition. She used to go to a big university hospital or something. The patient registration card I found in Mary's apartment. It had to be the hospital Kim was talking about. She mentioned once that she'd been fired because of something to do with her condition. She was a friendly girl. A lot of our customers came just to see her. In fact, there was one man who came by almost every day. I think they were probably sweethearts. Let's go down the line of questioning. Business hadn't been very good lately. Even our regular customers don't visit us as often as they used to. What? You want to know about little old me? I was like Mary's mentor here. He was a college student, I think. He was pretty crazy about her. Came by almost every day. He had kind of a boring name, though. Trent, I think it was. Well, that's a rather trite name. Trent. Maybe Mary did seem to like him. So he wasn't stalking her. Oh, I know. I just remembered. An older man had been visiting her recently. He looked very professional. Could it have been the older man that was at her apartment? It wasn't unusual for rich, important men like that to be Mary's regulars. But he was the only one who she would talk to privately. She almost looked upset after he left, though. Maybe she owed a lot of money? Because of her heart condition? It looked like that was about all the information I'd be able to wring out of Kim. Sorry if I bothered you, ma'am. Oh, don't worry about it, sugar. Why don't you come by and see me sometime?
Why don't you come by and see me sometime?
I pulled out a cig, though, and thought about what to do next. I lit a cigarette. It was looking like I'd found all that I was going to, which meant it was time to head over to Eternus U Hospital. Alright. Let's do this. Let's head to the hospital. So, it seems that Mary had a heart condition. She was going to a hospital to maybe get it figured out. She'd worked for a Fortune 500 company, a big company. And now, when she quit, she was working as a bar hostess. However, a very professional man, older gentleman, was visiting her at her home and her place of work. She also had another visitor, who was a young gentleman, probably a college student, that Mary seemed to like. I want to try to put the lines together here. Could it have been jealousy? Or maybe a mobster trying to rough money out of her? The patient registration card I found in Mary's apartment was for Eternus U Hospital. No doubt she was a patient then, and likely a frequent one. That put the hospital next on my walking tour of Hospicio. A gust of wind tore the smoke from my cigarette as I walked up to the front of Eternus University Hospital. I wanted to start asking around right away, but I had a feeling that bothering people at the hospital would only get me in trouble. I figured I should probably talk to a doctor first, and get the go-ahead before I started nosing around. Alright, oh doctor. Dr. Rosenpenis. Dr. Rosenpenis. Around. The hallways were spick and span and nearly empty. If anyone could tell me where Dr. Rosenpenis is from, 10 points. The hallways were spick and span and nearly empty. Well, a lot of things, but mostly it was just big. Like my dick. The lobby was full of people of all ages, men and women. Every single one of them in that room caused something was wrong. I've never felt exactly comfortable in hospitals. Neither have I. There were a few nurses behind the counter. I'm sure they'd know who Mary's doctor had been, but getting them to spill the beans to a private dick like me was going to be another matter entirely. You want to know who Mary Taylor's doctor was? Excuse me, who are you? I'm afraid I can't give that kind of information to just anyone. I had a feeling that was going to be the case, but I had a hunch I knew how to get this bird to open up. Let's give her my business card. No. No? Oh, I guess not. I'm sorry. I don't know who you are, but I can't tell you about that. Do we have her, Wait a minute, did we not take her? The nurses at the desk barely had the time to look up. The hospital might not have looked full, but it was busy. I watched them over the top of an issue of US Weekly. I noticed one of the nurses stand up. Now that's a nurse. Jenkins. It looked like it was break time for someone. Alright, let's talk to the nurse. I'm sorry. I don't know who you are. I can't tell you that. Okay. The hallways were spick and span. Okay. Where'd that lady go? The lobby's full of people of all ages. Of all ages, men and women. Follow the RCP. You down with RCP? Yeah, you know me. Doing my best not to look suspicious, I took my copy of US Weekly under my arm and pretended to be looking for the can. The girl bought a soda of some sort from the vending machine, and set down to read her book. Aside from her, the break room was almost empty. Damn. Stalking? RCP on break. I only needed to glance at the cover of her book to know that she was reading Manhattan Blues, the latest Saboru Jinguji mystery novel. Wait a minute. Isn't that the name of Jake Hunter series in Japan? I think it might be. A mystery novel, huh? It was just the inn I needed. Oh, Miss Taylor's doctor? I'm afraid I can't give that kind of information to just anyone. I'm sorry. I had a feeling that was going to be the case, but I had a hunch that I knew how to get this bird to open up. Take him out. I took out my business card and... Really? You're a detective? Yes, man, I am. Oh, it's true. It says Hunter Detective Agency on your card. Ladies will believe anything you tell them. Do you think you could tell me who Mary Taylor's doctor was, ma'am? This case could depend on it. Alright. I'm not supposed to talk about that sort of thing, but if you're a detective, I'll be back in a minute. The words were barely out of her mouth before she trotted off down a hall to return a couple minutes later. With a shy smile, she told me she'd been able to find which ward Mary had gone to. Thank you, man. You may have just given me the clue I'll need to solve this case. Oh, don't worry about it. I'm glad I was able to help. Do you think you might like to, go out to dinner with me sometime? Yeah. Uh-oh, this dame was turning out to be more than I bargained for. I told her I needed to iron my shoelaces and make tracks towards the nearest John. Wow. I don't know, I would have given her a shot. She was kind of cute. She had a good job, too. So, I didn't know where Mary's ward was. I wasn't going to find out by wandering. You need to ask somebody. Excuse me. Yes? The front desk told me the location of her ward. Mary's ward. I headed for Mary's ward, hoping to find some answers. Something about the antiseptic smell of the hospital always puts me on edge, or maybe it's just because I can't smoke. Just as I was starting to think I'd managed to get myself lost, I rounded a corner to find myself at the office for Mary's ward. I could feel the eyes of the staff boring into me, but I couldn't really blame them. I hadn't had a smoke in more than an hour. I was starting to get a little twitchy. As I looked around, trying to figure out my next move, a sneering little rat of a doctor scuttled across the floor to stop me. Please give your patient registration card to the receptionist and wait your turn. I'm not a patient. Oh, okay, it was a female. Sarah. Well, I'm sure they figured it out that I'm a doctor here. I don't really see that you need to know anything else. Why did he call her a rat? She's kind of hot. She was going to make it easy. She wasn't going to make it easy, but I knew how to deal with dames like Sarah Travis. Let's hand her my business card. Okay, never mind. Well, I'm sure you figured it out that I'm a doctor here. I don't really see that you need to know anything else. She wasn't going to make it easy, okay. Miss Taylor. I'm sorry, who are you? I can't really discuss a patient with a stranger. Miss Taylor, okay. I guess, okay, never mind. Take him out. Why don't we just whip it out? I took out my business card and... Let's talk about me a little. My name is Jake Hunter. I'm a detective. I pulled out one of my cards out of my pocket and handed it to her. I'm conducting an investigation that concerns Miss Taylor, and I have a few questions I was hoping you could help me with. Would you be able to spare a few minutes? A detective? Oh, sorry for the confusion. My name's Sarah Travis. Unfortunately, I was not Miss Mary's doctor. Miss Taylor's doctor was Professor Klein. I would suggest you talk to him, but he's out of the office today. Well, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. I'm sure you can answer some of my questions. I suppose. You really should talk to Professor Klein, though. He would know a lot more than I do. My relationship with Miss Taylor? You almost called Miss Taylor by her first name a second ago. Made me think you two might be close. You're right. I wasn't her doctor, but I ran into her a couple times. She was so warm and friendly that we just started talking. Her condition. Mary was suffering from a chronic heart condition. She'd been coming to the hospital for more than 10 years. I heard she'd undergone surgery for a condition at some point. But really, beyond that, anything I know is just hearsay. You really should talk to Professor Klein. You should really just talk to him. It wouldn't be very professional of me to talk about a colleague. Anything unusual? Anything unusual? I can't think of anything. I understand. Thank you very much for your time, ma'am. If there's anything else I can do, please don't hesitate to come by me again. I will, thank you. So I can't go anywhere else here. It was an exam room, like you might find in any hospital. I wasn't really expecting it to be different. The room was full of medical devices, the functions of which I couldn't even begin to guess at. Still, they looked pretty nice, and certainly made the hospital seem like it was a high-class joint. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was giving me the evil eye every time my back was turned. I tried to catch him out once or twice, but no dice. Sarah was so deep in thought she hadn't even heard me come in. I didn't really have anything I needed to ask her. I decided it might be better for me just to leave her alone. Alright, I guess it is time for me to move on. But where do I move to? East Bar. Mary's apartment. I've already gone through Mary's apartment. Let's go back to the office. Because I can't go back to the park. I'd seen enough. It was time to head back to the office and get my thoughts in order. Welcome back, sir. Thanks, babe. How did it go today? Alright, I picked up a few leads, but there's nothing solid yet. I think I'm going to have a smoke and see if that brings things into focus. Sounds like an excellent plan, sir. Perhaps later you can do some work. You're a real peach. I settled down into my chair as I dug a cigarette out of my pack. Glad to be off my feet, and with the smoke beginning to curl around my head, I started to think back on the day's events. Let's think. My pictures of Mary's life was finally starting to take shape. First, before her death, she'd suffered from medical condition. What was it? Heart condition. It had something to do with her heart. Mary had been to the hospital a number of times as a result of her condition. I found her patient registration card in her apartment for EU Hospital. Mary had been a frequent part of Eternus University Hospital. I'd met someone at the hospital who'd been close to Mary before her death. It was Sarah Travis. Mary had been friends with Dr. Sarah Travis, who I might add had been quite a woman. But Sarah hadn't been Mary's doctor. Who used to be Mary's doctor? Professor Klein. Yes, Sarah told me that hers was Professor Klein. The name of her hospital wasn't the only thing I learned about Mary while I was searching her apartment. What other nugget of information had I uncovered about Mary Taylor? Her job. She worked at a bar, the East Bar. I'd finally confirmed that what the police had suspected, that she worked at a bar, as well as the name of the bar. What had been the name of Mary's bar been? The East Bar. She worked at the East Bar in Espicio. I met someone at the bar who claimed to know Mary when she was alive. Her name was Kim. Another hostess had been sort of like a mentor to her. Her name was Kim. The birds I'd met at the bar told me Mary had worked before she came to the bar. She worked at a Fortune 500 company, one of those big-time Fortune 500 companies, apparently. They'd also told me why Mary had been fired from her last job. What was the reason that she was fired from the company? Well, we didn't really know, but I'm guessing it was her condition. She'd been fired for her mysterious condition. I learned something else at the bar, something that I had a feeling might turn out to be important. Mary had a boyfriend. His name was Trent. His name was Trent Reznor. You know, the guy from 9 Inch Nails. But I hadn't learned anything about him. He just liked to play heavy industrial music. At both the East Bar and Mary's apartment, the people I'd talked to had mentioned a man who had visited Mary recently. He appeared to be a middle-aged and messy, pleasant professional. Professional was how they described him. Of course, that was a little vague, but it was a start. I'd struck out again with the bums, but I'd gotten the feeling that one of them had wanted to talk to me. Which one had it been? I think it was Aldenberg. Aldenberg had tried to tell me something a few times, only to be interrupted by Stevenson. Despite all I've learned, I still didn't have any inkling of a motive for Mary's murder. Could she have made an enemy of someone? What kind of person was Mary? Well, she was a nice person, what we heard. Yes, she was a nice girl, and someone I talked to so far had liked her. I let my mind drift back over everyone I'd met that day. What they'd said, how they looked. I replayed the whole day in my mind. I felt like I had a pretty good handle on the situation. It was true that I didn't have a motive, or even a suspect, but I could feel the answers lurking just beneath the surface. The bums playing it close to the chest, Trent, Mary's boyfriend, Professor Klein, her old doctor, and the middle-aged man. I felt like I was getting closer to the truth, bit by bit. This case was a real mess, and it was like any other case I'd had. It was going to get worse before it got better. The shattered pieces of this woman's life were starting to form a picture, but I wasn't liking what I was seeing. Something shadowy and indistinct, something dark and dangerous. Mary Taylor had got caught up in something serious. I put my cigarette to my lips before I realized it had burnt out long before. I let a sigh and dropped it into the ashtray. It had been a long day, and I was staring down the barrel of another long one the next day. Just as I was reaching for a second cigarette, the office phone shattered the heaping silence of the office. It wasn't long before Yulia had answered the phone. Damn, how long has this woman worked there for? The ringing stopped, and I lit my cigarette with shaking hands as my stomach twisted itself into a knot. That phone call was bad news. I knew it. As I took my first pull, I told myself I was worrying for nothing. What is he? What? He's pulling on himself? Dude, Jay Connor is jerking it to relax. And for a moment I believed. Jake! The knot in my stomach cinched tight. Cigarette smoke burned in my throat. Get in here now. Before she had even finished, I was out my chair and through the door, into the main office. I hope you remember to pull your hands up and wash your hands. Here, pull your hands up, pull your pants up. There was no blood left in Yulia's face, and the fingers she had wrapped around the phone were white. What is it? That was the Hospicio police station. They were calling to inform me that Mr. Xinksly has been mugged. What? Is King okay? Miss Martin said she was sent to the hospital. He was sent to the hospital. It seems that he's stable and not in serious condition, but she wouldn't tell me any more. I see. I'm going to the hospital to check on King. Yes, sir. He was sent to the police hospital. Miss Martin and Mr. Lewis was attending. Miss Martin and Mr. Lewis are attending to him. Got it. Yulia, you can go home early today. Get some rest for both of us. And be careful. Of course, sir. Make sure you take care as well. I gave Yulia a last nod of goodbye as I ran down the stairs, pulling my coat on. I'd completely forgotten about the case. All I could think about was King. I hope you guys are enjoying. Oh, I sure am. I was going to save it real quick, but hey. I hope you guys are enjoying. I hope Kingsley is okay after being mugged. It seems odd to mug a police officer. You gotta have some big balls, or probably the culprit didn't really know it was King. But what will we discover next time? Perhaps this visit to the university? Is it the same one that Mary Taylor went to? That could give us a chance to talk to Mr. Klein or Dr. Klein. But I hope you guys are enjoying. If you are, please drop a like, a comment, and subscribe. If you haven't already, it makes me feel good. And make sure you have a good night. Good night.